Solving trig equations. This is one of my absolute favourite parts of the National 5 course. Now, previous knowledge that you already have is solving normal equations, linear equations. So do not copy this A and B into your notes. So if I was to solve this linear equation here, x minus 3 equals 4, I would take that minus 3 over to the other side by doing the opposite of that negative. I would add. So we get x equals 7. I am hoping you remember doing that, and for this one here I would add my 4 first to both sides because that's the opposite of negative, and then I would divide by 2. So the first part, this skill, is going to be used during our trig equations. So if you are wanting to copy these, this is where you would copy. So we've got our trig example. 4 sin x equals 1. I am actually wanting to find x, and it is going to be an angle. However, the first part I want is sin x equals, and to do that I need to take this 4 over. Now this means 4 times sin x, so I'm going to divide, and that will give me sin x equals a quarter. Okay, and I am looking to get x on its own, so x like that. So I'm going to do the inverse of sine. Make sure your calculator has that letter D or it says deg at the top. If it doesn't, you're not going to get the same angle as I do here. So we've got shift or second function sine, bracket, and we've got 1 divided by 4 to get my quarter. X equals, and we've got 14.477 dot dot dot. I'm going to round it to 1 decimal place, so 14.5 degrees. Now, sin x is just a graph, and 14.5 happens here, because that's about 14.5 along, and here as well. So there's another value I am needing to find. Okay, there will always be 2 values. You do not need to draw that little graph. How would I get another value? Well, this is where we are going to use a cast diagram. I remember the cast diagram as sex and the city. In the A quadrant, we've got the angle. In the S quadrant, I've got 180 minus the angle. In my T quadrant, I've got 180 plus the angle. And in my C quadrant, 360 minus. Okay, why is it going 0 all the way to 360? Because a full circle is 360, and that sine graph that I drew happens over 360 degrees. So I do have this 14.5. Now, what is this all about? This is going to tell me where I'm going to get these 2 angles. Here, at my sin x equals a quarter is really important. Sin x equals, and this value here is positive. Because it is positive, I am going to tick A because it's positive, and it's sin S, so I'm going to tick S, and this identifies the 2 angles that I am going to get. So the first angle, which is in the A, is just the angle that we have here. And I'm really struggling to write around this visualizer today. And the second angle is going to be in this one, and that is 180 subtract the angle. So my other one, my other angle is x equals 180 minus 14.5, which is 165.5 degrees. And that is my 2 angles. Let's do another one. We'll stick with sine and we'll do 5 sine x equals 2. So same thing, I am going to solve so I get x. So divide by 5, divide by 5. Okay, so I've divided by 5 to get sine x, and then to get x on its own, I've done the inverse. And now we can type into the calculator. Okay. .6 degrees. And now we're ready to do the cast. To use the cast, I am looking at this line here when I've got sine x. Okay, I don't have 40 sine x, or I don't have 3 sine x plus 5, I've just got sine x equals. And this value here is positive, so it's positive, I tick A, and it's sine, I tick S. Ready for the next part. So x is going to be, A is just the angle, so that says 23.6. And I've ticked S, which is 180, subtract the angle. And they are going to be my two angles for sine x there. My two answers, and you always will get two answers. Okay, what happens if it's not sine though? Because there is other ones. We also have the cosine graph and the tan graph. And I am really sorry if you can hear the gurgling of my sink in the background. So, alright, going to do the same process. We're going to get x on its own. Okay. So we've got x to be 75.5 just now. And now we're ready for our cast diagram. And we're looking at that cos x equals a quarter part. This quarter, this fraction is positive, there's no negative in front, so I'm ticking A, and it's cos, so I'm ticking C. So my angles are going to be the angle itself, which is 75.5, and the other angle at C is going to be 360 subtract. Okay. And this gives us our two final answers. Reminder that there will always be two final answers. And we'll move on to the last example. This time we're going to go for tan. But our same principles are going to apply. First step is we want to rearrange to get x equals, and that's our first step. go. Oh, there we go. There we go, and that's it to 1 decimal place. Our second step is our cast diagram. Alright, and I'm just going to do it below, just down here. This is the line here that I am going to use to let me know which part of the cast diagram that I'm going to get my two answers from. It's tan, and this value here is positive. So A for positive and T for tan. And my third step is my two answers from the cast. Alright. So we've got x equals the angle, 51.3, and x equals 180 plus 51.3, which is 231.3. Done.